So, good evening, everyone. The cool thing about doing this on Facebook Live is that whatever you miss, you can go back and review it. That's a pretty cool thing. It's not like a Zoom meeting where, like, if you miss it, you miss it. You can you can go back on it. And somebody, Denise, can you text Sarah and let her know how to get to the page? She's texting me now. So let's open up. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Cool. Let me turn the speaker off. Love you too. What's up, Pete? Let's pray in and give some people a chance to come on. So just take a deep breath. And Father, we ask that you can come into our lives and into our hearts and into our minds and into our homes and allow us to seek you. And we just want to move toward you. Wherever you want us to move to get to you, move us there. Please guide our steps and our actions. Create a path for us to go. Keep us conscious that we're just trying to get to you and get to know you better and to have a spiritual experience with you. And just like be guided by you throughout our lives. Open the hearts and the minds of the people that are watching and listening, and allow them to know, allow them to hear you, allow them to see you and hear you and not me. Keep my mouth closed and open up yours. Also like to pray for my brother who's currently in the hospital with liver failure. Guide him and only do what you can do. You're the only one that can do anything like that. And also for Brian Beatty's family. Father, we ask all this from you, and just guide us along our way. In your name, amen. Amen. So, my brother, it's been a trying week. My brother is in the hospital, which is, and don't get me wrong here, is much better than the place he was just at, So I'm so happy that he's there. They think that he might have the corona, and it's kind of concerning, and also he needs a new liver. We're not sure how that's going to play out, but I'm just letting God do his thing, man. And that dude, I see, does things that I absolutely can't do. So last week we were reviewing the forewords, and in the forewords we were talking about, in a particular part of it, we were talking about Bill Dobson, and Bill Dobson is the guy. Actually, if you go to an AA group and and you go to like one of the clubhouses and stuff like that, a lot of us, or you could Google it when we get off here. It's a guy named Bill Dobson, and in the AA literature, you'll see a picture on the walls of various groups and things of that nature, and it's got two men with a book in their hand reading to a man on the bed. So the two men were Bill and Bob, and that's when we went through the forwards, and they went and they helped who became AA number 3, Bill Dobson, and he recovered immediately. And then Sister Anisha cleared out the whole ward, and they started to do work with people and taking people through the whole summer of 1935. Crazy service work. A lot of failures and a lot of recoveries, man. There was a heartening success, which was cool. So that's where that picture comes from. So and you got some direction on where that picture came from and how it comes up. And also they had a book in their hand, and I'm just making it clear that it wasn't this book, because this book wasn't written yet. So I'll let you come up with your own idea of what book they had in their hand and where the steps came from and all that stuff from where we were discussing that last week. Bible. So we're on this mission of a first step. We got some evidence and scientific evidence from a doctor, and not a doctor who's just fresh out of med school, right? Who still believes that the stuff that they tried and the methods that they tried or to employ back then are going to work, right? And they're coming out because they got all this book knowledge, and they're not like we're not talking about one of those guys who still think like Suboxone maintenance works, or this works or whatever for the real alcoholic, however. And we're not talking about that type of doctor. We're talking about a doctor who has damn near 50 years of experience, 20 plus years of education to give us a lot of information. So he's had various experiences with us to understand that we have no solution for these people. Kind of like the and it's crazy because like I started to think about this the other day, how like even the Wright brothers, right? And you had all the mathematical minds, and man thinks he's so smart, and we think we're so smart sometimes, especially getting high. We think we can think and talk our way out of anything, and like we think we're so intelligent by learning some stuff that somebody else came up with, another man, and then we think that we ground that in fact, right? And think that it is factual for everyone and everything. The fact is that it's not. Even all the mathematical minds, right? And as we go on further in the book, had determined that men would never fly, yet we flew. So we're always showing that scientific evidence is not to be held up as fact. We're on this round ball spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, rotating around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour, in a galaxy that's spinning at 490,000 miles an hour. 3 different speeds. We're revolving around the sun as we're spinning and as the galaxy's moving, and we don't never get too far away from the sun to freeze to death or too close to it to burn up alive. And men would think like, oh, that's what the earth does. This happens every day. And it does happen every day, and not because man made that happen. We had nothing to do with that. So we're going on to this journey in order to build this relationship, and me and my other brother who's clean right now, 14 years, and we were just talking about the doctor's opinion yesterday, and the fact that my brother's in that place of like being even Bill, when Bill was in that place, and we were talking about Bill's story and first 8 pages and stuff like that, and hopefully you followed the direction, and we were talking about how even Bill said how dark it is before the dawn. On page 90, the more hopeless the better. And to the wives, you got 3 types of person, and the worst person, and even the worst person that says this picture might not be as dark as it looks. So the more beaten and broken we are, the better off we are to accept and understand what we have to offer here. And in order to get that, we got tons of evidence from various different doctors, the most prominent doctors in the world, and also evidences and experiences of other people and other members of ours that were completely hopeless and helpless as well. So we talked about the doctor and his credentials last week before, and we told you to write some stuff at the page. You're talking about Princeton, Bellevue Medical College type of guy. He was that guy. Worked as the medical director and expert at Towns Hospital. Had like 40 to 50,000 cases. Neurology. He did everything. He was an expert. And the cool thing was he wasn't trying to solve his own problem. So imagine how helpless the doctors feel when we go into the hospitals and we OD, or like my brother right now, and where they're like you need a new liver. Like, I don't know what to do, and they have no answer. So it's cool that we get all this information. So from here to page 23, we're going to be discussing a lot of information built around the physical part of it and a little bit of the mental. And then 23 through 43, we're going to go into the mental things that end up when we're sober, the things that happen to us when we're clean and sober and then end up relapsing. So let's start. The doctor's opinion. We of Alcoholics Anonymous believe that the reader will be interested in the medical estimate of plan of recovery described in this book. Convincing testimony must, and I always highlight, underline, or circle must because it's the biggest word in the book. If you must do something, what's that mean? You got to do it. It must surely come. Convincing testimony got to surely come from people who we look up to and think are like the alpha and omegas and got all the answers. So, of course, we need information from them. So let's get the information. Must surely come from medical men who have had experience with the sufferings of our members. We're talking about experience, not like you just got out of school and is going to tell me, like, yeah, man, try this medication. You know, has experience with our members and also has witnessed our return to health. Here's his credentials. A well-known doctor, chief physician at a nationally prominent hospital specializing in alcoholic and drug addiction. You can circle that. Gave Alcoholics Anonymous this letter. To whom it may concern. I have special, and now we're going in to what the doctor's writing. To whom it may concern. This is Dr. William Silkworth. I have specialized in the treatment of alcoholism for many years. In late 1934, I attended a patient, Bill W., who, though had been a competent businessman of good earning capacity, was an alcoholic of a type that I had come to regard as hopeless. Hopeless variety. Beaten, broken, dude, you're done. That's what they do. Like, hey, man, he's done. And next to that, I write, when I want to stop, but I can't. That's hopeless. I want to stop. I see everything that happens to me, but I can't. Consequences, everything, I just can't. In the course of his third treatment, he was here, just at this place. His third treatment, he acquired certain ideas concerning the possible means of recovery. As part of his rehabilitation, he commenced to present his conception to other alcoholics, impressing upon them that they must, there's that word again, do likewise with still others. You gotta give this to somebody else because can't nobody give it to nobody else but us. This has become the basis of a rapidly growing fellowship of these men and their families. This man and over 100 others appear to have recovered. It's a big word. There's millions of us now, and this was written when it was written. You know, we're talking about 1935, maybe even 38. It was written. I don't know when he actually gave them the thing. I don't know the date. I personally know scores of cases. Look it up. Thousands and thousands and thousands of cases who were of the type of to whom other methods have failed completely. Let's talk about other methods. Wife and a therapist. That's going to help me because she's educated. She can help me. Walking around with index cards with triggers on them. I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. I can't talk about anything. I can't watch movies or anything. Suboxone maintenance, kratom, various rehabs. Father Martin's Ashley, one of the most prominent hospitals in the nation today. I've tried women, I've tried success, I've tried money, other methods like detox, rehabs, the best known rehabs, key program, therapeutic communities. We're talking about studying Terence Gorski, the developmental model of recovery, the 6 stages of DMR, all that stuff, and nothing had worked for me. I tried every method. I even tried having a kid. And I thought my daughter, if you watch that thing, I did this thing on YouTube with my daughter, and I told her I thought she was going to be my savior, and I did. I thought like I would stop. If I just had a kid, I would be able to stop. None of that stuff works. So what's your methods? You know, the methods that he's talking about are the methods that they employed. So the methods that they employed back then were a lot more crucial than they are now. They weren't. It wasn't like they were giving out morphine and stuff like that. However, they were doing like lobotomies, electric shock therapy, firing lines. We're talking about like a mess of stuff. Much more dramatic and detrimental methods they tried, and none of them worked. I personally know scores of cases who other methods have failed completely. These facts, we're talking about facts, appear to be, we're talking about a doctor who's giving you facts. These facts appear to be of extreme medical importance because of the extraordinary possibility of a rapid growth inherent in this group. They may mark the new epic of the annals of alcoholism. So that's like a new pathway in the door of alcoholism. These men, this is so cool. These men may well have a remedy for thousands of such situations they never even dreamed about what it would be like how it is today. They have a remedy for thousands of such situations, and this is the coolest line. You may rely absolutely on anything they say about themselves. You're talking about this dude who been in there 3 times. This is his 3rd time. Nutcase. He's watched it happen a million times. He knows alcoholics. His experience with alcoholics are the hopeless variety, the real deal alcoholics, which we'll describe later on. His experience is doomed, hopeless. It's a wrap. That's it. That's his experience with us. But he's saying you can rely untrustworthy, crazy people. Now he's saying you can rely absolutely on anything they say about themselves. That's me. That's me and my brother. We're talking about this the other day. Like, that's us today. Thank God. Like, our mom and our dads didn't trust us to, not even just, imagine our own parents didn't trust us, let alone other people. You know, and now like they rely absolutely on anything we say about ourselves. So now we're going back from the doctor, we're going into another description from the writer. The physician who, at our request, gave us this letter has been kind enough to enlarge on his views in another statement which follows. In this statement, he confirms that we who have suffered alcoholic torture must believe that the body of the alcoholic is quite as abnormal as his mind. It didn't satisfy us to told that we could not control our drinking, right? Everybody else is like, yo, like you need to, the people that are going hard are telling us to slow down. We cannot control our drinking just because we're maladjusted to life or we're in full flight from reality or we're outright mental defectives. What do you mean I'm different than my brother, my oldest brother, Barry, who can have a beer at the Super Bowl and be okay and I can't? What are you talking about? I'm not willing to accept that bull crap. I can't. Watch me. I didn't. These things were true to some extent. In fact, to a considerable extent with some of us. But we were sure that our bodies were sickened as well. We all know what that looks like. In our belief, any picture of the alcoholic which leaves out the physical factor is incomplete. There's not a lot of explanation we need because we're all aware of what happens physically, where I'm in my bed and I swear to God I'm never going to do this again. I'm done forever and it's a wrap. And then I end up getting this like little thing in me when I wake up. I swore the night before and then like my body's twitching and people see us physically and they're like, yo, you effed up, man. You're messed up. Are you getting high? And we're like, nah, man, what are you talking about, dude? I'm cool. Or the detox and the DTs and going to different places and the restless, irritable, discontent feeling. I need more. I'm going to do things physically to get it. It's a lot of parts of the physical thing too. But we all are clear if you're on this page and you understand what, and you're already accepting the fact that you're an alcoholic and a drug addict. We're clear of what this thing is. The doctor's theory that we have an allergy to alcohol interests us. Allergy. Abnormal reaction to a common substance. Eat peanuts, you're going to mess up. And it's crazy because like you can have someone that eats peanuts and he's looking at us like, why don't you just stop drinking? And I'm like, why can't you eat peanuts? And I'm eating peanuts. Crazy thing. As laymen, as regular men, our opinion as to its soundness may of course mean little. But as ex-prom drinkers, we can say that his explanation makes great sense. It explains many things for which we cannot otherwise account. Though we work out our solution on a spiritual as well as an altruistic plane, which is like a selfless plane, we favor hospitalization for the alcoholic who was very jittery or befogged. What are we talking about? Detox. Rehab. More often than not, it is imperative. More often than not, it is imperative that a man's brain be cleared before he is approached, as he is then a better chance of understanding and accepting. I underline both of them. Understanding and accepting what we have to offer. Understanding and accepting. Like, okay, man, I understand what this is about. People would tell you it's about, you go some places and they'll tell you it's about coming to meetings, man, and fellowshipping and stuff like that. And I'm sorry, but you're wrong. That's like that's not even a speck of sand of what this thing is about. This thing is about building a connection, establishing relationships everywhere in my community, relationships that I thought would never happen. My love for God. There's so much more inside. Man, we'll get there when we get there. The doctor writes. So now we're back into Silkworth and what Silkworth is talking about. The subject presented in it, oh, this is so amazing. The subject presented in this book seems to be of paramount importance to those afflicted with alcoholic addiction. He's letting you know, like, this dude who was doomed and recovered, now I have experience with him and a few people recovering. They are of major importance, the most important, because they got something that we need. I say this after many years. Many years is putting it lightly with Mr. Silkworth. With 50 years experience as a medical director of one of the oldest hospitals in the country, treating alcoholic and drug addiction. Yeah. There was therefore a sense of real satisfaction when I was asked to contribute a few words on a subject which is covered in such masterly detail in these pages. You got a doctor who is the man, is now letting you know he is freaking honored to write something on a subject which is covered in masterly detail in this book. He's giving credit to Bill and them. He's not a doctor. Bill's he's a stockbroker, man, who lost everything multiple times. And he's giving him like the utmost respect and credit. Why? Because he's seen something about him. Something changed in him. His life changed. He watched it. It wasn't, yeah, man, I'm sober now and I wasn't drinking and still doing all the same nonsense. Everything changed. There was a demonstration with how he walked with his community. Everyone knew. There was therefore a sense of real satisfaction. So this is some cool stuff. So I'm going to ask you to do something. I hope you got your pen. Underline this. We doctors have realized for a long time that some form of underlying moral psychology. Next to that, right, religious or spiritual experience. That's what the doctor's talking about. He's not a religious man or spiritual guy. Was of urgent importance to alcoholics, but its application presented difficulties beyond our, and I cross out our and I put doctors on top of it, on all the hours. Beyond our conception. What with our, doctors on top of it, ultra-modern standards, our scientific approach to everything, we are perhaps not well equipped to apply the powers of good, cross out powers of good. Put a line through it. Under it, write powers of God. That lie outside are synthetic. If you don't know what synthetic is, underline it. And next to it, you can write fake, imitation. Synthetic knowledge. So the doctor says, we doctors have realized for a long time of some form of moral psychology was of urgent importance to alcoholics, but its application presented difficulties beyond our conception. What with our ultra-modern standards and our scientific approach to everything, we perhaps not well equipped to apply the powers of good that lie outside our synthetic knowledge. Now let's read it in layman's terms, regular men terms. We doctors, all of them, have realized for a long time, and they do it. We can leave, and you can go to your nearest ER center, and they'll tell you the same. Have realized for a long time that some form of spiritual or religious experience was of urgent importance to alcoholics, but its application presented difficulties beyond the doctor's conception. What with the doctor's ultra-modern standards, the doctor's scientific approach to everything, we are perhaps not well equipped to apply the powers of God that lie outside our fake-ass imitation knowledge. We can't do what that dude does, is what he's saying. And he said it, but just to be clear, and we kind of rewrite it in our family, is just to be clear on what he's saying. Yeah. Nobody can do it. We can't. We don't have the knowledge that dude did. Our knowledge is synthetic. It's bullshit. Excuse my language. Sorry. It's bullcrap. But that dude knows what he's doing. Thank God. Many years ago, this is so crucial to us. For someone, the doctor, to actually sit and admit this was unbelievable. Many years ago, one of the leading contributors to this book, we know who that is, came under our care in a hospital. And while here, he acquired some ideas which he put into practical application at once. Do a step a year. You okay? I need relief. I remember even telling my sponsor, like, if you're going to tell me to read something for 30 days, man, I'm going to be dead. And I meant it. I knew I was. And he said, oh, no, man, we going in. And we got right into the work. That's what they did. They went to the hospital in the forwards. They were like in there doing the work with people. They didn't even leave the hospital. They stayed in there the whole time. So it could be determined on rather he left the hospital and came back or whatever, because it says here later, but it says while at the hospital. Later, he requested this is cool stuff. Later, he requested the privilege of being allowed to tell his story to other patients here, carrying the message, right? And with some misgiving, we consented. Some misgiving. So, my mother's in the medical community. My brother actually had an experience with working in the medical community too. And I know in the morning when the doctors come in, they all get together and the nurses are around and the chief nurse or whatever is there, and they discuss what patients, what methods are working for what person, what they've administered, what they had to do with this person's here, this person's not, this person got discharged. They discuss stuff. So they're probably in there in the morning. This is just how I see it. And they're probably in there in the morning and they're like, hey, so Bill, and they're like, Bill who? Bill Wilson. You talking about Bill that been here 3-4 times? And they're like, he's like, yeah. He wants to come back and like try to help the patients. And they're probably like, what? That's like me going to detox 2 days after I got out. Like, yo, let me come in and help the people. They're going to like call the police on me. So the doctors with some misgivings. So all the other doctors are probably like, dude, we can't do that. We can't let him talk to the patients. And then Silkworth's already being in full confirmed knowledge of this thing. You got Dr. Sue and Dr. Johnny over here, right? And he goes, okay, Sue, what have you tried that worked? All the methods that you learned in school and all that stuff. Tell me what worked. Tell me what you got. And Dr. Sue's like, I ain't got nothing. Okay, Johnny, how about you? Dr. Johnny, what do you got that works? Tell me, man. Let's try that. What do you got that we ain't tried yet? He's like, nothing. Let him try. What we got to lose? We're watching people's... Remember, these people are on the firing line. They're watching people's lives, husbands, people die, children are like, please help my dad, and he can't. Just remember, like, these dudes were desperate, man. They still are desperate to have somebody help them. With some misgiving, we consented. Let him try. Thank God for Silkworth. The cases we have filed through have been most interesting. In fact, many of them are amazing. The unselfishness of these men, as we have come to know them, they were selfish before. As we've come to know them, now they're unselfish. The entire absence of profit motive. Hold on a second. You talking about, I went to school for 20 plus years to try to help these people. I educated myself in every way I can, in every field I can, to try to be of assistance to these people, and I can't help, and I get paid big bucks to do it. And this dude is doing it. He's succeeding at it, and he don't want nothing. These people don't want anything. Unbelievable. Boom, blew my mind. Their entire absence of profit motive and their community spirit, the demonstration, is indeed inspiring to one who's labored long and wearily in this alcoholic field. The doc's saying, I've been doing this forever, man. Thank God somebody came along like this and he developed something like this. Who really developed it? Let's be clear real fast. I'm not worrying about Bill and Bob on the the founders. I'm not worried concerned with Clarence Snyder was actually the real co-founder and all that stuff. I know who did this. I know. They believe in themselves and still more in a power which pulls chronic alcoholics back from the gates of death. They believe in that dude, that power. Of course, an alcoholic ought to be freed from his physical craving for liquor, and this often requires a definite hospital procedure before psychological measures can be of maximum benefit. So we're talking about like detox is usually necessary for someone who's jittery or befogged or whatever, and it's just that their brain's cleared because they got more of a chance of accepting and understanding what we have to offer. We believe, and so suggested a few years ago, that the action of alcohol in these chronic alcoholics is a manifestation of an allergy, an abnormal reaction to a common substance, an allergy, and that the phenomenon of craving, which is what we break out in. People break out in hives that eat peanuts or their throat swells up. That we break out in the phenomenon of craving that says more, 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 more. This ain't enough. Let's go. And there is no stopping. And the phenomenon of craving is limited to this class and never occurs in the average temperate drinker like my brother Barry. These allergic types can never safely use alcohol, you might want to underline this, in any form. You can determine what they're talking about. Drugs, anything, you name it. In any form, and once having formed the habit and found they cannot break it, once having lost their self-confidence, their reliance upon things human, their problems pile up on them and become astonishingly difficult to solve. Frothy emotional appeal seldom suffices. This emotional appeal is seldom enough. Kids at the door, Daddy, please don't go. If your kids are doing that, or Mommy, please don't go. Please just stay with me, Mommy. Please, don't go out tonight, Mommy. And like we're like, oh man, or the dog's looking at you crazy, or like you got consequences, right? Or like my mom, for me, it was my mom like grabbing me, please don't go outside, like just stay here, watch a movie, baby, just stay with me. And it wasn't enough. Putting my ear to the door, coming in my mother's house, man, and hearing my mother run upstairs and lock her door from her own son, and going upstairs and locking the door, and I would put my ear to the door and hear my mother crying on the other end, and I'm like, oh, and it hurt, and I felt it. And it was emotional appealing to me. And I pull my ear from the door and I go grab a TV or something out of her house. It's not enough. People telling us, please don't, you're going to die. Like, I don't want to see you. You're killing me. You know, your father can't deal with this right now. He's going through stuff. It's not enough. The message which can interest and hold these alcoholic people must have depth and weight. I got a group that I just spoke at called Depth and Weight group. We're talking about depth and weight. A lot of I have the experience with the problem and the solution. You know, yeah, I was like you too, and we're like talking about how I was like you. Their ideas, in nearly all cases, their ideas must be grounded in a power greater. There's must again, a power greater than themselves if they are to recreate their lives. If any feel as psychiatrists directing a hospital for alcoholics, we appear somewhat sentimental, sad, or we feel bad for them, let them stand with us while on the firing line. Let them come with us and watch what we go through every day. Let them see the tragedies, talking about what the doctors go through still today. Let the despairing wives and little children, let the solving of these problems become a part of their daily work. And even their sleeping moments where they wake up in the middle of the night like, Matt was such a great guy. Like, why is he doing this to himself? Why is he doing this to his family? He's like got a great job and everything. And even their sleeping moments and the most cynical, the most judgmental will not wonder why we, the doctors, the major doctors, have discovered or have accepted and encouraged this movement. Whew. We feel after many years of experience, many years, we talked about how many, that we have found nothing. Underline that. We have found nothing. This is the doctor. We have found nothing which has contributed more to the rehabilitation of these men than the altruistic movement now growing up among them. We have found nothing that has contributed more than this program, the 12 steps. They haven't. Still haven't. Men and women drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol. That's why we started. Like someone gave us a beer, they said, oh man, you're good. And we drank it and it was like kind of like, or gave us a hit of weed or something. We was like, yo, man, this is what's up. Whoa, and I'm bagging up at everything and I'm laughing at everything, or I feel like loose now where I can go talk to Brittany down the street. Brittany, shout out Brittany. I don't even know who Brittany is, but I always use her name. So if you Brittany, cool. So we got like Brittany, who's like, man, like I can talk to her now. I'm like, hey, what's up, girl? Hey, you know, and I'm doing all this crazy stuff that I couldn't do before. The sensation is so elusive that while we admit it is injurious, we heard and we seen evidence from our peers, they cannot after a time differentiate the true from the false. To them, our alcoholic and drug addiction life seems the only normal one. It seems like everybody does this, man. Especially when you're on Newcastle Avenue with me. It's like, this is the life. You know, everybody does it. The sensation is so elusive. They are restless. This is so cool. They are restless, irritable, and discontented. Unless they sense the ease and comfort. Remember that? I'm done. I swear. Oh, man, I ain't got no more. And all of a sudden, I'm like, man, I got to get me something to go to work. I got to go to work in 10 minutes. I got to go grab something. And we're late to work because we got to grab something before work to get the ease and comfort that comes at once by taking a few drinks or a hit or a shot or whatever. It comes at once. Immediate. All right, cool. I can work now. Everything's cool. Drinks which we see others taking with impunity. Underline impunity. That means without punishment. Drinks we see others taking without punishment. We see other people like they're okay. They ain't going to jail for as long as I went to jail. They ain't going to the hospital and dying and ODing and all that stuff. Like, they're cool. After they have succumbed to the desire again, after that thing's calling us and we're like craving and restless, irritable, and I'm like, you know, and I don't have that relief, and I'm just like, oh man, and then I succumb to the desire again, as so many do. The phenomenon of craving develops more, and they pass through the well-known, very well known to us, stages of a spree, emerging remorseful. I swear I'm never going to do it again. A firm resolution not to do it again. I'm finished forever. And this is repeated over and over. How many times? My brother's in the hospital. We were just discussing it. And I was like, he was like, man, I'm done, Matt. I'm done. They're like, I'm going to die. And I was like, bro, just keep in mind that, you know, and review the last time you was in the hospital in December. You know, you said the same thing. And you had the same consequences behind it. And you said the same thing. I get it. Me too, man. Me too. You know. This is repeated over and over. And unless this person can experience the entire psychic change, there is very little hope of his recovery. Psychic change, I'll describe it to you like this. Smoke crack or go home. I got work in the morning. Smoke crack, shoot dope. The kids are waiting up for me. The kids are waiting up for me and I got work in the morning is not in the cards. It's not happening. I'm out. It's already over with. And then all of a sudden, I get this shift from doing this work, and this shift happens where it's like, yo, the kids are waiting up for you. And then the thought of smoking crack comes up. That becomes the ridiculous thought. Shooting dope becomes the ridiculous thought and easily pushed to the side like, yeah, right, dude, I'm going home. And it's amazing. And so many amazing things happen through this program and through the psychic change. Thank God, by doing the work. On the other hand, and strange as it may seem to those who don't understand, once a spiritual change has occurred, excuse me, psychic it says, but spiritual change has occurred, the very same person who seemed doomed, who had so many problems he despaired of ever solving them, suddenly finds himself easily able to control his desire for alcohol. That's me, man. Easily. The only effort necessary being that required to follow a few simple rules, man. That's all I got to do, man, is follow this thing. This particular paragraph that we're about to read is the paragraph that when I found a sponsor that I had no idea what was it for because I had completely chalked up and given up on the idea of any hope. I knew I was going to die or spend the rest of my life in jail. I had already accepted that fact. And when he read this to me, and I remember being in Good Samaritan Hospital here in West Palm Beach, Florida, where I'm currently at. And I remember I OD'd and died, literally flatlined in there. I don't know how many times, but on this particular night, I remember me and my friend OD'd together, and I woke up and he didn't. And you would think like this, you know, this is enough. And I remember the nurse asking me like, "Do you want some help?" And I was like, "Yeah, please help me." And she said, "Don't do it again." And I was like I haven't tried that, idiot. And I remember being mad at them because I thought they weren't providing me with help. I left the hospital immediately. My first thought of leaving the hospital, even though I just lost my friend, was I got more at home. And I went home and I did it. And 6 hours later, I'm back in the hospital. I'm back in the hospital 6 hours later. And I'm dead, flatlined this time. And they woke me up and I was still dying. I was like in between worlds. And I was begging this doctor, "Please help me. Please help me. You're losing me. I'm dying." And she just looked at me and shook her head. And I was like, "Ma'am, you're losing me." And she was like, "What? I don't have a defense against what's in your system," is what she told me. And I was like, "You have to help me, please." And she didn't have no aid. And I thought it was because they were being ignorant. You know, I thought like, where do you go for the doctors? I'm like, "Please help me, like save me." I didn't know she really didn't have an answer. And then when I read this, it really came to my head and I really understood. Men have cried out to, and this is the Dr. Silkworth. Men have cried out to me in sincere and despairing appeal. "Please, doctor, I cannot go on like this. I have everything to live for." It sounded just like me. "I must stop, but I can't. You have to help me." And then this woke me up. When he read this to me, I was like, oh my God. And it opened everything up. Just this little paragraph. "Faced with this problem, If a doctor is honest with him or herself, they must sometimes feel their own inadequacy. Although they give all that is in them, it is often not enough. One feels, and this is the doctor telling you, who's not spiritual or religious, one feels that something more than human power is needed to produce the essential, the absolutely necessary psychic change. Though the aggregated, the combined efforts of recoveries resulting from psychiatric effort are considerable for like the moderate and heavy drinker, we physicians must admit we have made little impression. We have to admit it. Doctors today have to admit we have made little impression upon the problem as a whole. Many types do not respond to the ordinary psychological approach. I do not hold with those who believe that alcoholism is entirely a problem of mental control and willpower. I have had many men who had, for example, worked a period of months on some problem or business deal, which was to be settled at a certain date favorably to them, and the phenomenon of craving at once, became paramount over all other interests, and so the important appointment was not even met. These men were not drinking to escape, they were drinking to overcome a craving beyond their mental control. The best example of this is this. I'm a 4-time convicted violent felon. I got like probably 30 felonies. All of them are violent. Even the ones that weren't violent before are considered violent now. It's ridiculous. But I end up getting into I shot somebody. I got into this dispute. Me and my girlfriend were arguing. This dude came over. I ended up beating him up and shooting him. And I'm going to court and like I'm done. In my eyes, it's over. And I remember telling people like I did it because he tried to rob me. The truth is, like, I did it because I was just an idiot and like he looked at me funny. And like I can't, man, just thinking back about the person that I was, man. And I remember going to court, and I'm going to court for it, and like my life is over. I'm a habitual criminal. I know that they're going to lay me down. And I remember getting this lawyer, and Mr. Foley came to my aid, and he was like, "Yo, I got a plea for you." And I was like, I already knew what it was. I was like, "Man, what do you got for me?" And he was like, 4 years. And I was like, "You get me," and I'm just verbalizing what I said. I said, "You get me 4 years and I'll kiss your ass." That's what I said to him. And I really meant it. Bare butt and everything. And he said, I'm going to get you this plea. He gets me the plea bargain. I'm out on bail. I ain't going to go through that. I'm out on bail thanks to my mother and father. Anyway, I'm out on bail. And I end up going to court. I got my sneakers filled with all types of narcotics and stuff that's going to be okay. I'm going to last, in my head, I told myself I was going to last 18 months with the stuff I had in my sneaker. I got 18 months worth of drugs in my sneaker. I know I'm going to get them in because I'm already, like, everybody knows me at the local state prison, Gander Hill. They all know me there. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to skate past them with my sneakers. Everything's going to be cool. I got 146 character reference letters. I put all this work in on the outside, physical stuff, trying to put all this work in to try to make sure that the judge, because they don't have to go with the plea. They can say, "No, we're not accepting that. Here, take this." Especially when I admit guilt in the plea. They can give you what you want, what they want. And I had all these people at court with me, and I'm getting high right before court, and I go up. All I have to do, I got everything in place that I need to go up and get sentenced. All I have to do is get sentenced and go up there and take my time. I already had 12 years in prison before this. And all I have to do is get sentenced and I'm cool. And I get up to the judge. I got all my family and friends are in there. It's like 50 people in there, like, with me. And I remember raising my hand and saying, "I have to use the bathroom." And they were like, Go ahead, go use the bathroom. I shot to the elevator, ran down the elevator, ran to the parking garage. I went to level 2 because that's where I remember being at, looking for my car because I had a hit in it. And I was like, oh my gosh, level 2. And then it was lower level 2, LL2. So I ran all the way down and I was sweating. My shirt's untucked. I'm beating sweat everywhere. I get to my car and everybody's at my car. They're all down there waiting like, Matt, you can do this. And they thought that I was scared to go back to prison. I welcomed that amount of time. I was completely satisfied with getting that amount of time for what I had done, and I am 100% cool with this. I didn't run to the car because I was trying to run from the bit. I ran to the car because I had a phenomenon of craving way beyond my mental control. I knew there was a hit in the car and I couldn't even wait to have what I had in my sneaker to get into the facility and to get something out. I had to have it now. I risked my whole life. Thank God the judge went with the plea, but I risked my whole life to do that. Unbelievable. They were drinking and getting high to overcome a craving beyond their mental control. There were many situations which arise out of the phenomenon of craving which cause men to make the supreme sacrifice rather than continue to fight. Get high again, suicide. The classification of alcoholics seems most difficult and in much detail is outside the scope of this book. We are, of course, the psychopaths who are emotionally unstable. We are all familiar with this type. They are always going on the water wagon for keeps. The over-remorseful and to make many resolutions but never a decision. This is all me. There's the type with whom is unwilling to admit that he cannot take a drink. That was me. He plans. These all have been me at some point. Various ways of drinking. He changes his brain or his environment. Remember that? There's the type who always believes that after being entirely free from alcohol for a while, he'll be able to use successfully. Yeah, and take a drink without danger. There's the manic depressive type, who was perhaps the least misunderstood by his friends and about whom a whole chapter could be written. Then there's the types entirely normal in every respect, and this would be me now if I got drunk again or high again. Every respect except in the effect that alcohol has upon them. They are often able, intelligent, and friendly people. Most of those things anyway. All these and many others have one symptom in common. Can't start without stopping. And stop. Cannot start drinking without developing the phenomenon of craving. The phenomenon, as we have suggested, may be the manifestation of an allergy which differentiates these people and sets them apart as a distinct entity. That's why other people can drink and we can't. They don't have the same thing that we got. They just don't have the disease. Just like we can eat peanuts and they can't. Only difference is this is much more crucial. This is cool. It has never, today, it has never been by any treatment with which we are familiar permanently eradicated. None. The only relief that this is the doctor. The only relief that the doctor has to suggest is total abstinence. There we go. I went to the doctor and I was like, do you want help? Yeah, please. And all she could tell me for help was, don't do it again. What? That's all they can do is say, how many times? A lot of y'all have left and went to detox or went to the hospital or been in rehab or even OD'd before, and they said, don't do it. You're going to die if you keep doing this, and then you did it again. This immediately precipitates us to we got a little bit left. This immediately precipitates us into a seething cauldron of debate. Much has been written pro and con, but among physicians, the general, all or most people, that's what general means, all or most physicians seems to be that most of what we think is that most chronic alcoholics are doomed. Thanks, Doc. What a great physician, and that's the truth of it. That's the truth today. Cool thing is, he came into contact with us, and this is part of why he wrote what he wrote, because he had experiences like this. What is the solution? ? So this is the doc. He can't give you the whole solution because he don't know. He's not one of us. But he can tell you from his experience. Perhaps I can best understand this or answer this by relating to one of my experiences. Be mindful of the condition that these people are in. About 1 year prior to this experience, a man was brought to me and treated for chronic alcoholism. He partially recovered from a gastric hemorrhage, seemed to be a case of pathological and mental deterioration, wet brain. He lost everything worthwhile in life. He was only living, one may say, to get drunk and high. You talking about broken. I'm done. I'm out of answers. Completely hopeless. It's important. He even admitted and believed that for him there was no hope. Don't even waste your time with me. Is how this guy felt. What a beautiful place to be. What a beautiful place to be, Gabe. He frankly admitted and believed that for him there was no hope. Following the elimination of alcohol, there was found to be no permanent brain injury. What'd he do? Underline, highlight, star, circle, put a happy face next to this. He accepted the plan outlined in this book. Remember, we already talked about there's precise instructions in this book. That's why they wrote it. Precise instructions on exactly how to recover. He accepted the plan outlined in his book. And what happened to him? Because he ain't had nothing else to accept. He's at the end of his rope. Last stop on the block. Same for me. 1 year later, he called to see me, and I experienced a very strange sensation. I knew the man by name, and I partly recognized his features. But there all resemblance ended. From a trembling, despairing, nervous wreck had emerged a man brimming over with self-reliance and contentment. I talked with him. This is the doctor. I talked with him for some time, but was not able to bring myself to feel that I even knew him before. He was a stranger, and so he left me. A long time has passed and no return to alcohol. This is the doctor's experience with one of our members who has recovered. And he's seeing this and he's like blown away because he's been trying for years. Remember? So many different methods and medical treatment and different education. He tried everything. Here's another one. When I need a mental uplift, I often think of another case brought to me by a physician prominent in New York. The patient, he made his own diagnosis. That was me. You can hang out. Don't even waste your time with me. I'm done. I'm going to die or end up in jail the rest of my life. I get it. And decided his situation hopeless. Me too. Be mindful of the condition that they're in. Had hidden in a deserted barn and determined to die. Sounds like me. I'm going to spend the rest of my life in jail or die. I'm ready to go. He was rescued by a searching party. That was jail for me. And in desperate condition brought to me. Following his physical rehabilitation, he had a talk with me in which he frankly stated, he thought the treatment was a waste of effort. Don't even waste your time, Doc. Unless I could assure him, which no one ever had, that in the future he would have the willpower to resist the impulse to drink. His alcoholic, check his condition, his alcoholic problem was so complex, his depression was so great, he felt as though the only hope would be through what we then called moral psychology, spiritual or religious experience, and we doubted that even that would have any effect. But check it out. However, underline, highlight, bracket, smiley face, star this. He did become sold on the, thank God, man. He did become sold on the ideas contained in this book. What happened to him? I see him now and then, and he is the finest specimen his manhood could wish to meet. I earnestly advise every alcoholic to read this book through. And though perhaps, this is the doctor, and perhaps he's came to Scove, he remained to pray. William D. Silkworth, M.D. He ain't even want his name in the book. Now it's in there now. So, a lot of information, man. Thank God. You know, this dude was like the amazing man, and it's kind of like a story. There's a story in the Bible with Paul. Like Paul was like a savage, and like he had money and everything, and which makes his story so believable is because he left everything to do that. Dr. Silkworth risked everything by telling us this. Well, I mean, he's telling you, like, we don't have an answer. There's no sense in you even, this is basically what he's saying. Don't waste your money because we don't have an answer. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure he took a lot of heat for this. They would now. I remember I wanted to redo the doctor's opinion and like have a more moderate version of it. That's like one of the things that I would like to do. And I actually was talking to some people about that. We started to set up a plan. Anyway, thank you guys for praying and reading with me. It's been an amazing night, man. And this is the most amazing journey that you'll ever go through. This first step stuff and understanding, like, yeah, this is like all evidence to let you know and me know on a regular basis, like, they don't have an answer. So if these people, and we're going to get into a whole lot more evidence, if everybody out here, human power, doesn't have the answer, then where do I go? And of course, how do I get there? This is how I get there, and that's where I go. So next week, Tuesday, we'll start on the first half of Bill's story. Usually, like, skip over Bill's story, not skip over, but have you guys read it on your own, which I hope you did. And it brings a lot of light to stuff, but we'll go over at minimum the first 9 pages just so we can bring to light some stuff. And then we might just go on by Saturday, hopefully, if we don't do the second part of Bill's story, which we might not, then we'll just, because you're supposed to be reading it yourself, Bill's story, because it'll open up a lot of stuff, then we'll just jump into there as a solution. So thank you guys, man, and I hope you got something, and let's just continue to do this work, man, and remain to pray, man, and talk to that dude, because that's who got the answers, and hopefully you heard him and not me. God bless y'all. Good night.